Welcome to my channel, INTJ Island. Today, I'm going to talk about the INTJ's preference for using intuition for perceiving and how that differs from using sensing for that purpose. An INTJ has an N as a second letter because we perceive the world through our intuition. We could be IITJ, of course, but that would be confusing. So the second letter of the word intuition is used to show that we are intuitives rather than sensors. It is a rather comfortable accommodation for me because I have been dealing with a similar method of convenience with chess notation for years. In chess, they use an N to designate the knight because the K is already used for the king. This goes all the way back to the descriptive method of listing chess moves with pawn to king 4 or knight to bishop 3. All my early chess books, including Bobby Fischer's My 60 Memorable Games, use that now archaic system. However, in the algebraic system, they still use an N for the knight when they say NC3, which moves the knight to the square C3. In even older books, they used to use KT for knight, but that convention was tossed away years ago. What is the difference between being a sensor and an intuitive? I attempted to tackle this topic in an earlier video, and it became an INTJ wandering mind. The fact that that happened might give you a hint as to what this topic is about. A sensor is present in the now and takes in things directly and usually quickly. A picture is crooked on the wall. There is clutter in the corner of the room. The shelf is poorly organized. A picture has striking colors. The faucet is dripping. When we are in the car, my ESTP wife will shout out, "Corvette alert!" She always spots them first, and that is her favorite car. Little details about the here and now are taken in quickly and identified by a sensor. She is the first to notice the room temperature or air quality. She adores soft blankets and comfortable clothes. An INTJ has extroverted sensing way down in the inferior position of his stack. So we do experience what it's like to be a sensor at times, but it is not the dominant sensing that an ESTP experiences. We are normally running with our intuition engaged, and that overwhelms our sensing function unless we need it quickly because we are in an emergency or playing sports. When we walk into a room, we process what we see. We will miss details as we capture the bigger picture. Once I am confident that it is a safe place to be, I will pick out important details. Is it an empty room? If so, I can ignore any social demands and look at something that catches my eye. A fireplace is blocked off, and I wonder what it was like when it had a fire going and why it was abandoned. A chair looks like it might be from an earlier age, and who might have sat in it in the past. If there are people in the room, I immediately check for an exit route. If I am tied to the space by obligation, I will seek out a chair or standing space where I can disconnect from interaction if I need to. It is unlikely that I will spot a picture slightly crooked or a shelf that could be better organized until I have been in a space for some time. My mind moves through many things as I process the area around me. If I find something of interest, I might ignore everything else as I focus on that item and study it and work through the possibilities for the one who possesses that item. In conversation, a sensor will normally hear what is said and come back with a quick response, even if it is, "I don't know," or "I have never thought of that." A quick and easy reply is stress-free. Back and forth statements that don't really have to be going anywhere at all are fun and interesting, especially for the extroverted sensor. The conversation is at a light and shallow level. The term "no shop talk" came from people who don't want to have to think deeply in conversation. If an intuitive is introverted, this will really slow things down during conversation. An idea must be processed before it is expounded upon. The introverted mind naturally takes time to make connections with what is already there to make sense of what is said. An extroverted intuitive can be quite different. A new idea can quickly trigger patterns of what might be related to that idea. He will not respond as a sensor would with a straight line, on-topic reply. Instead, he may well deliver a number of rapid-fire ideas that are connected with the original idea he received and point out how this or that might be a result of that original idea. For example, an extroverted intuitive might respond to someone mentioning teleportation from a movie or TV show by suggesting that teleportation might be used for crimes, from assassination to bank vault robbery. But it could be used to move patients to a hospital quickly, or a small group of people out of danger from a rapidly approaching tsunami. On the other hand, an introverted intuitive might well take a bit of time and then say that the method of teleportation could pose problems for philosophy, because if the atoms of a person were disassembled and then reassembled, the person was effectively killed and then restored to life as perhaps only a copy. Perhaps it could be done through scanning the original and sending a digital representation of the original, which would then be assembled on the other end. You would once again either have to destroy the original, or you would run the risk of having two of you running around at once. Alternatively, it could be done through some sort of space distortion that you actually move through without in any way harming your original body. A censor might receive the same idea in conversation and just move on to say that he saw that show and he either liked it or he didn't care for it. I have been told that I am difficult to talk with by people who have wanted to express some idea unquestioned to me and get some expected reaction to the news. Instead, I always analyze whatever was said, and I will ask questions where I see missing information that seems critical to understanding what was said. I can end up asking a string of questions because it remains unclear for a time. Even if I get what I need, the other party can be quite upset and frustrated by the end because he thought I should have just answered directly. Other times I find out that the person has no idea what he's talking about because basic questions that would impact the meaning of what the item is really about remain unanswered. If someone were injured at work, was it the company that was negligent, or was a person who was hurt doing something he was not supposed to do? If a pedestrian were run over, did he run out in front of a car jaywalking, or was he in the crosswalk and the car ran a red light? And invariably, when something bad happens, my mind will immediately start working out ways it could have been avoided and should be avoided in the future. In a way, each event that happens metaphorically causes a censor to enjoy a quick game of tic-tac-toe, while an intuitive breaks out a chessboard. A new experience or a new idea must be processed before an intuitive can have a response he is comfortable with. An extroverted intuitive, when presented with a new idea, will tend to spread out into many new areas from that starting point. Things just appear to him apparently out of the blue as to how this idea could be used in the real world. An introverted intuitive will tend to pull the idea into his mind and process it to figure out what makes it tick and how it can make sense with what he already knows. For intuitives, introverts are slow movers because they have to think things through before they can understand what is going on. Extroverts are quicker, and their response can appear to bounce around as they move from this to that idea that comes to them. The challenges for an introverted intuitive is to reach a point where he feels comfortable with giving an opinion because he wants to be sure. For an extroverted intuitive, the challenge is to hold his focus so he can flesh out one idea sufficiently before moving to the next one. Meanwhile, censors are wondering what is wrong with these intuitives. Why can't they just stay on topic and give a quick and normal response? We are here to socialize, after all, not solve the problems of the world. For the INTJ, he usually does his best work away from other people. Introverted intuition is a slow process, and it can literally take years to come to a conclusion, sometimes on a really tough problem. It often can take a day or more, and taking hours is very common. Even what we would call a quick solution can take minutes to process things through, and interruptions can disrupt everything and send you back to the drawing board. I like outlines. An outline is very helpful to my intuition at work because I can start with a big, really big picture of what I want to accomplish. And when I have that, I can then start to identify the parts of that big picture. There is this part, and it needs this part over here. And then I will need this other part to support the other parts. I like to use a page for one area and work through the steps and pieces for that area, and then take another page for another area. And I am happy to set just a topic down at the top of a page and get my mind thinking about it, and let it continue to think about it in the background as I work out some of the other more simple and straightforward things. And while I'm working on the simple things, or even a different project altogether, or even if I'm about to fall asleep at night, I will often suddenly have an insight on how to tackle that big item I left hanging. Bit by bit, I will shape the big picture pieces into something that works. If there is a gaping hole, I will research that area and increase my knowledge until I can fill that hole effectively. Even when I don't use a physical outline, I still tend to tackle projects this way. Once I can see the steps clearly to completion of a project in my mind, I can accomplish the project in the real world. My extroverted thinking works hand in glove with my intuition. Thinking moves in a particular direction until a problem is encountered, and my intuition provides a solution to the problem. Intuition is always working on something. You read, you listen, you see, and data is fed into your subconscious mind, where the intuition is madly working away to make sense of it all. And it does seem mad at times, because it connects up things you would never expect to be connected. Suddenly you know that something is wrong, and this is how you fix it. I remember one time in my transmitter course, we had a problem with one of the units in the classroom. I knew that a transistor was bad. It had to be bad. I replaced it. My fellow instructor asked me, "Why are you changing that transistor out? It checks good." I replied, "It simply has to be bad because that is the only way we could get these symptoms." He just looked at me in confusion, but it fixed the problem. That is life as an INTJ. Do you use intuition or sensing primarily as your method of perceiving the world? How does this impact your daily life? Please let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please click like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'll see you next time.